All right, so next up, we're going to move on to mass spectrometry. And so what this does, as the name implies, is it gives us the molecular mass of a compound. Along with some other info about the compound's structure. And so we're just going to do a very basic of how this works. Basically, what you do is you ionize the molecule. Which will then give it either a positive or negative charge, depending on what you're working with. And then you're going to shoot this charged particle through a magnet. And any charged particle that's moving also has a magnetic field, and so it'll interact with this magnetic field, and it's going to deflect the ions. And depending on how much it deflects this, and specifically the charge to mass ratio, it'll be deflected by a certain degree, and then it'll slam into a detector, and this is going to detect the mass to charge ratio. And here, basically anything that's not +1 or -1 is going to get deflected away from the detector. And so all of these have a charge of ±1. So our mass to charge ratio is essentially just mass. And so here's a picture of this. So at the beginning, right, you inject the sample. The sample can then get heated to vaporize the sample. In this case, we're using an electron beam, which is going to ionize the sample. We'll see about that in a little bit. And then those particles are going to be shot into this magnetic or this accelerator to accelerate them. And then after that, they go through this giant magnet, which deflects them, right? The magnetic field separates the particles based on the mass to charge ratio. And then they hit this detector, and depending where they hit the detector, it can realize what the mass of a compound is. And so one cool thing that you can do with mass spectrometry is combine them with GC. Or LC. LC is very similar to gas chromatography. It's just liquid instead. And so you can have what's known as a GCMS, so gas chromatography hooked up to mass spectrometry, or an LCMS, liquid chromatography, connected to a mass spectrometer. And so basically, the first component here separates your mixture. Right? And then the second component, the mass spec, identifies the peaks. And so it's a really powerful analytical tool.